the Black Swan Media Studios, deep inside a secret underground bunker. We're speaking to freedom-loving patriots from all around the country and the world. Welcome to the Resistance. This is John Crump, live.
And we are here. We are a little bit later than usual, but that is because our guest is from the state of California. I don't know if he would say it's the great state, but it could be a lot of cool people out in California. And if we keep on trying, maybe we'll make it a great state once again. My name is John Crump, and this is John Crump Live, where we talk to interesting people from around the world. And we definitely have an interesting guy today, and he's going to be talking to us about a couple programs that he has written, a couple scripts, I guess. I don't know what you want to call them, but a couple web apps, I guess. And I've been using them, and so have a lot of powerful people have been using them. So we're going to be talking to him today. But before we get into that, I want to let you all know that we are sponsored by the one, the only JSD Supply. JSD Supply is where you can get everything you need for your custom firearms builds. They have barrels, they have slides, they have P80s, they have 80% SIG products as well. Check them out over at JSD Supply. We are also brought to you by Tusk. Tusk is the only cryptocurrency that I currently shill, and it's the only one I will be shilling because I actually believe in what Tusk does. And a lot of other stuff is rug pulls and everything, but I've been an investor in Tusk for the last few years, so I'm not giving up on it. And actually, I've made some money, but it's not for investments. It's for to actually use. You're not going to get rich on it, so it's not like a Bitcoin or a Ethereum or something that's going to skyrocket in value. It's made to be used. That's what I like about it.
Proudly sponsored by TUSC, the only cryptocurrency designed with the firearms market in mind, with 3-second processing times. It's the fastest cryptocurrency on the planet. With lower transaction fees than traditional credit cards. It's perfect for your e-commerce needs. For gun guys, by gun guys. Visit TUSC.network for more information and join the digital revolution.
And if you like patches like this one, or this one, that's Flying Rich and Mine, or any of the other ones that we have from 280U, BWE Firearms, DLD After Dark, we have some other non-creator patches as well. You can go to Black Swan Tactical. You can also get this Black Swan Media shirt. Black Swan Media is my company, and so is Black Swan Tactical. Just two different parts of the same company, I can say, or two different companies under the same umbrella. How about that?
Black Swan Tactical, your #1 source for 2A streetwear. With shirts, mugs, hats, patches, flags, and more. There's always something to help you rep the 2A community. All proceeds go back into our projects. Viewers and listeners can take an additional 10% off with code CRUMPY. Unapologetically pro-gun, pro-liberty, and pro-freedom gear for the front lines of the culture war.
And that is at blackswantactical.com. You can always support the channel and all my other projects by going to patreon.com/John Crump. I see a lot of people out there, so let's get into this. First, let me introduce you to my co-host, the one, the only, the flying, crashing man, Rich.
Hey, how's it going, John?
Good. How you doing?
Good. You know, got an hour extra rest here.
Oh yeah.
I just want to show my favorite ever patch.
Here's your patch.
What is that? Of course, this is my second favorite, but just maybe because Tony Simon's the funniest guy ever.
All right. Dark is out there paging me or sending me a text message. Sorry, I'm just tired.
Oh, unlike the call I just got, like as soon as we started the show.
Dude, he's in the crowd too. And we are joined by my coding friend who speaks in ones and zeros and sometimes hexadecimal.
No octal, just hex and binary. Okay.
Yeah. Wes.
Most of this was written in Python, but whatever.
People don't know what Python is.
Come on, everybody knows Python. They're learning it in grade school now.
Yeah, they are actually. But my son knows Python. But is it Python 3? Joking. Yeah.
Python 3, Ansible. Everybody's deploying their virtual machines and their infrastructure with Ansible and Python 3 on the back end.
Yeah, like a lot of different. Okay, so apparently a lot of people do know Python out there.
Great. So our audience isn't as dumb as you thought they were, is what you're saying. I just want everybody in the audience to know, John keeps telling me I got to dumb it down for you guys. I say,
no,
nope,
I don't
smart.
say that. I said when I write my articles, I try to write them on a 5th grade level with words. And that's just not me. That's just journalism.
You mean that's the New York Times standard?
No, I mean,
because most of the New York Times authors are using crayons.
No, across all journalism, they tell you to use
using or eating crayons.
They're not Marines, buddy.
No, you beat me to it.
All right. So Wes, let me explain how you sent me a message on Discord, and you sent me a couple different web apps, I guess, and I actually wrote an article. It's in the link in the description about one of them because I thought it was really, really cool. And what that one did is pull the comments. And I will go ahead and I'll bring that up in 1 second here.
So there's an API for the ATF comments?
Yeah, through data.gov, you can sign up for a developer account, and they'll give you access to 500 calls an hour, and they give you a key to use, and you can use that key and get requests to pull data from specific dockets or pull metadata about specific dockets. And I did it a couple different ways.
So for the non-geeks among us, API is application program interface, but basically it's a way through software, like a published way, that third parties, in this case, could access their data. And then you could programmatically, instead of printing out a stack of comments, you can actually analyze them with software.
Right.
Yeah, let me show you what this looks like to everyone else. So this is one of the things that he sent me, and I sent this over, and like the day that I posted it, I got calls from like aides of Congress people when they saw this. Explain to everyone out there what we're looking at.
This is the end product of the scripts and the utilization of the APIs that I did. One of the end products. I wanted to know generally, without having to read all 200,000 comments on the frame and receiver and all 250,000 comments, or however many it was, 211 on the brace dockets. I wanted to know generally what the sentiment was.
So, all right, let's just take so is this frames and receivers, or it's both?
So this visualization here is both. It's split up in a couple different ways. The first 3 tabs are the receivers information, the information that I downloaded and then parsed. And then the last 3 tabs are the brace dockets.
Okay, so for those of you that can't quite see, there's tabs across the top, and that's the titling.
I
So
will try
the
to.
tab that we're looking at is receiver by day, and so
So
red opposes any further regulation on receivers, as in like 80% receivers.
right.
In blue is for. Total number for and against. What do we got?
The total number would be on the next tab. We have a cumulative tab.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but this visualization here, the first visualization was just how many, a sum of the comments that were received by date. So you could see spikes and surges when people were making comments.
Yeah, the analysis of this it's very interesting to me because you see us pro-gun people getting out like for the first third of the graph. Immediately as it happened, it looks like we got out there and started commenting. And it kind of tapers off. And then the end, both spike. So, both pro and against seem to spike.
Right. So we noticed towards the end that every town at all were sending out emails and requests for people to make comments, and they provided a link to a forum page that would let people sign their name to a pre-written letter and send it off as a comment. People noticed that, and I saw several gun tubers requesting that people counteract that by making their own comments. So the spikes at the end were in opposition to the change, were reactionary, I think.
Just going, it seemed like there was a little bit of a rhythm. Was it higher on the weekends or higher midweek? How did that work?
I didn't look at any patterning of the data as it was received, so I couldn't say.
All right, let's go to the next tab.
So the next tab is just that same data, but rather than individual dates and summations of comments by day, it's additional, it's cumulative. So every day includes the previous day's comments. And if you hover over the end there, you can see where it ended up. But it's about a 2-to-1 ratio, 160,000 to 80,000 for and against, or against to for the rule change.
And this page?
So there was some weird lags and
this is what I wanted to talk
with
about.
How quickly the comments were processed. So this page is mostly diagnostic for my part. I wanted to see how far behind whoever was publishing these comments for public consumption. I wanted to see how far behind they were. So in the API, I have access to attributes like when the comment was submitted by the commentor, and then when it was approved for publishing by the regulations.gov people. So the difference between those dates is that blue line. The bars themselves are the number of comments that were approved by day by regulations.gov for publishing. So you saw, as you can see, there's some wild swings in the number of comments that they were approving for publication.
So why would a comment not be approved?
I don't know.
If it's off topic or
right. There's always the
profanity.
Yeah.
So if you drop
That's
the
what
F
I've
bomb,
heard. I don't know for a fact.
I've actually there might be a little lawsuit over that.
When we ended the frames and receivers docket, on the docket page on regulations.gov, it tells you how many they received, and it was 290 something thousand. And then suddenly 50,000 of those disappeared, and now it's only 240,000 or something like that, 245.
Yeah, if you drop like the F bomb or anything, that they will remove it. I'm hearing rumors of a lawsuit over First Amendment issues because of that. I'm not gonna really say more than that because I really don't know more than that. Let's take a look at braces. Braces seem kind of weird because you don't see the like the supporting of the new rule as much on braces.
And I don't know if that's weird or not. It really seems to align with the type of coverage that these dockets were getting too, right? I mean, we really didn't hear much about the brace docket from the other side.
I would assume every town would have been all over that also. I don't know.
No, I think they concentrated more on the 80%ers.
The ghost guns. Ghost guns. Scary ghost guns.
Yeah,
I was going to say that.
Right here, you can really see the difference.
Yeah, it's an 8-to-1 ratio.
Yow.
And I have to make a disclaimer here. I can't say that the analysis of this is perfect. I did my best with the Python natural language processing library. I did add in additional features that would definitely say that this is a comment in support of the rule change, because it had the exact same wording as those form letters that they were sending in, and vice versa for the opposition comments. There was, this is not constitutional, and if that was in there, it obviously was a comment opposed. So there was a bit of work that I did to push it towards what I thought was a more accurate interpretation of whether the comment was for or opposed. But it's not perfect. I did not read all of these comments, so
how dare you? Did you read? I'm sorry. Did you read? Did you download all of the comments and then process them locally? Okay.
I did.
So, how much data was that?
About 800 megabytes.
Oh, okay, so not crazy huge. That's
not
interesting.
Entirely huge. The biggest lag between processing the comments and getting this published was just waiting for regulations.gov to make them available for me to download. And that's really why I had those third tabs on each of these visualizations, is so I could, verify that I was actually getting all of the comments that they made published, and look at how wildly they were swinging on the number of comments they were publishing per day. Because some days it would only be a couple thousand, and other days it would be up to close to 10,000 comments that they were publishing.
Yeah, Mr. Stone points out that 800 megs of pure text is a ton.
It's a lot of text, but it's not a lot of data. It's not like you had terabytes of data coming down. So that was really my question. So did you use an AI to analyze this, or you just looked for keywords?
It's a machine learning library called NLTK that's available for anybody to use in Python. And like I said, I just tweaked it a little bit to push it closer towards accuracy. So I would run it and it would score opposed or for, and I'd look at some of the ones that were opposed and just validate because it scores it from a -1 to a +1, and anything that's negative is perceived as opposed, and anything that's scored as a +1 is supportive.
Gotcha.
Of the rule change. And I would just take that middle bit and validate that I was getting what I perceive to be an accurate representation of the comment sentiment, and add in words that I was seeing that generally went one way or the other to push it over the edge a little bit more, and that would get me closer and closer every time I made a tweak.
Cool.
Until I started reading the scored comments, and I didn't see any ones that I disagreed with how the library scored them.
Yeah, this is one of the tabs on the final tab here. I found it interesting. You have this huge spike.
Holy crap.
That's the delay line, and they processed some comments on. I saw that too, and I looked into it. They processed some comments from the very beginning of the open period. So while it looks distressing, it's not. Either they found comments that didn't quite make it into the pool of available comments to publish or not. I don't know. This includes electronic comments and mailed in letters. So if you mail in a letter, the difference between when it was written and when it was published is going to be greater too. So that might have been a tranche of mailed in letters as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. Anybody wants to look more into this, it is in the description, and there's a whole article on it as well. Because
all of this is published on GitHub as well.
Yeah, you get all that. Yeah, but this is very, very interesting, and I haven't really seen anyone else do this. What made you decide to do this?
I wanted to know how the fight was going, how the comments were leaning towards. I wanted to know if we're being washed out in a sea of support for these dockets, or if it was, if my experience in my little California bubble here was unique or not. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And as you said, I hadn't seen it done before, so I knew I had the ability and the tools to do it.
And well, I like the idea of the whole comment thing. I have very little faith that the ATF is going to say, "Oh, people don't want these things, so we won't do it."
That was another reason why I wanted to record the sentiment and analyze the sentiment. I was worried that the ATF was going to say, "We have overwhelming support for these these rule changes in these dockets." I was worried that they were going to say massive amounts of people are in support, when it was clearly not the majority of people that were willing to comment on this were in support of these rule changes.
Well,
I wanted to limit their ability to spin, or at least be aware of how they were spinning the sentiment on these comments.
I doubt they're going to say that now, especially since they are aware of it.
So the ATF is aware of this data.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I guess that's going to be my next thing. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong or what data you have, if you hide it under a bush, but if people know about it, that's probably the most important part.
Yep. And you wrote something. You have something in Tableau here too.
Yeah, this was actually the first thing that I wrote. I wanted to see how much people cared about dockets, and how that compared. I know there was a flurry of activity around the ATF dockets this year, but I didn't have any context with how ATF dockets energize people to make comments or versus other agencies. So like I said before, the API does allow us to download actual comments, but it also lets us download metadata about the docket's performance themselves. So for the past 20 years, I downloaded all of the ATF, EPA, FBI, FDA, and IRS dockets and got the cumulative number of comments made about each of those without doing any scoring or sentiment analysis. I just wanted to get the pure number of how many comments were made on each of these dockets. And as you can see here, for the past 20 years, there have been 26 ATF dockets and a total of 600,000 comments on those 26 dockets for the last 20 years. And when you compare it to something like the FDA that has 500 dockets and only a total of 3,000 comments on all of those 500 dockets for the past 20 years, you can see that people care a little bit less about the FDA than they do about what the ATF's doing.
Yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to show this. And once again, this is stuff that has never been out there before. And any readable type website or anything for the general public to see. And I believe it's important for the general public to see all this.
Wow. So you're telling me the FBI's only had 7 comments out there?
7 rule change dockets.
Wow.
And on those 7 rule change dockets, they've had 151 public comments for the past 20 years.
Wow.
There are other types of publications that go into the Federal Register. I didn't look at those. I just looked at the proposed rule changes that were available for public comment.
So the FDA is massive with that stuff and proportionally gets near no comments.
Right.
And likewise,
the only other one that gets massive comments is the IRS.
But that's still not even close if you look at.
And it's still not even close. And they had one big docket back in 2013.
Yeah, that's insane. So what is your background?
I have a bachelor's of science in data management and analytics. I work in California, so I've worked in quite a few fields, oil and agriculture mostly, but I work in IT.
Yeah, it's really good. We really need more people who understand this stuff in the gun space. And they're out there. That's the thing. I mean, I worked at Facebook and a lot of others, Silicon Valley companies, and there are a lot of gun people in Silicon Valley. It's just they're quiet about it, and they don't put their skills to good use for the 2A community. Which is why every time I find one, it's like, yay. Okay, we got a question here. So you're saying the ATF seems to be the only agency using these comment periods to such an extent, or is the ATF comments just way more numerous?
The second. Other agencies use they're required to publish rule changes. The ATF is receiving way more activity on their proposed rule changes. People have an opinion about what the ATF is doing.
Yeah, and that goes to show you the power of the 2A community, I think. Because the 2A community is big, and we want to protect our rights. Do you think this shows that the pro-gun side was more successful at getting their message out than the anti-gun side, or is it just the pro-gun side tried harder? Because
I don't think we tried harder. I don't think we tried harder. There's not much more trying than Everytown and Bloomberg and they try pretty hard. I just think that we're reaching a point where we've had enough. We've had enough of this slow etching away of our rights, and we've reached a point where we're willing to talk about it. We don't want any more rule changes. We don't want any more laws. In fact, we should repeal a bunch. Being from California, I live in a very authoritarian state when it comes to the Second Amendment, and it's not okay.
Yeah, G-Webs, yes, it was. What is it, 3-1 on the
2-1 on the frame and receiver,
2-1,
and like 8-1 on the brace docket.
Yeah, G-Webs is asking. He missed the first.
So, and I'm trying not to pigeonhole myself into terms like astroturf versus organic, because I'm not sure. Most gun tubers said, hey, make sure you comment. Make sure, you go to GOA's website and here's the URL and comment. So I'm not sure if that's astroturf versus organic. It seems like there's many more independent people in the 2A community that are like, hey, this is going on now. You need to make a comment. Versus, the Bloomberg or Soros organizations that are saying, hey, you need to comment against these things.
So if I were a conspiracy theorist, I would say that the data would support the fact that there was a lot more astroturfing on the support of these rule changes than there was on our side, just because of the giant spikes that we saw. Whereas ours was a way more evenly applied commenting. I don't know. I have no evidence to say that this was anything other than an honest comment by people who support these rule changes.
And
There was a lot of form letters that were sent in, but there was a lot of form letters on both sides.
sure, sure. And I filled out. It's where is it? Action is like the GOA has a website specifically for this, and it's like GOA Action or something like that. And I made sure I customized it. I didn't want to just send in the
gunownersaction.org.
gunownersaction.org. Now, does that work with an API on the back end and submit the comments?
Yeah, same API, same data.gov API is used to make comments as it is to download them.
What's likewise from making bots just to submit random comments?
So likewise, every town could
just saying,
do the same thing. Yeah. So I mean, it's as far as mutually assured destruction, we're pretty well weaponized in that area. Both sides.
Yeah, I don't know. Looking at that, it just seems, even with like a massive email blast, it seems too irregular. Call me a conspiracy theory. I mean, because conspiracy theorist, not a good theory, but it just, I don't know. This doesn't look right to me. So I'm like, bots maybe? I don't know. No evidence of that yet. But, there is stuff, there is things in progress. I was asked to ask you if there's a way that you could pull everyone's names that made comments and reference them to make sure that they're real people. And I was like, I don't think you can do that.
So when you submit a comment, they ask you to provide your address and things like that so that they can verify that you're a real person. They don't make that information available via the API. First name, last name are made available. But the address and because
I looked into that.
More specifically, my background is in geographic information services. So I wanted to know, regionally how people felt. The sentiment was regionally. I was going to, put it on a map, but I don't have any location information, any regional information about any of the comments. They hide the address, they hide the zip code, they don't even anonymize the, they don't just, it's a null column in the API.
Is there a way, this is a good question. Basically, is there a way to query the names to see if people submitted more than one comment? I know some people have the same name.
Certainly, you could tally up the number of comments from people that have the same first name, last name.
Which I don't know how meaningful that is.
Right. Maybe there really are 450,000 John Smiths in the United States.
Right.
Yeah, there might be. But I don't know. I just have this sneaking suspicion that there were some bots out there as well.
But even if there were bots, and I'm assuming you're talking about bots on the anti-gun side, we still crushed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Handily.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. Do you have any other projects coming up that you're working on to a related programming application development? Nope.
This was a unique window in time where I had the ability and the opportunity and the desire to go grab information on something I was interested in. I don't have anything that I'm looking forward to in the immediate future now.
How long did it take you to do both projects?
Probably less than 10 hours to actually do the coding, but I was letting it run and download the comments as they came in every day. So from the opening of the comments to the closing of the comments on both dockets, several months of just letting my computer run and pull information. And when the
good point,
the publishers the publishers outpaced me, I would have to run it a little longer because I'm limited to the number of calls I can make per day.
Well, I don't think IP tracing would filter bot activity out because it
Especially
all
not
gets
with.
it all
Go
gets
ahead.
uploaded to like every town servers or whatnot, and then gets submitted from the same IP.
Right, unless a person went to regulations.gov, that's what I did. I went directly to the docket and made a comment on it. But if you were going through a website to either customize a form letter or accept a form letter as written and add your name to it, it's not your IP address that's going to be submitting that.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose IP addresses might be recorded on the part of people who were collecting those comments for submission.
Yeah.
But then you're having to, ask people to share their records with you.
So I think BWE has a comment that John probably could answer.
It's only supposed to be one comment, but how do they know if you put in a different address?
So if I say, Rich Hughes, Bert Hughes, Joe Hughes,
yeah. Yeah. G-Web wants to know if we can go back to other comment periods and pull.
Yeah, other comment periods are available for download. I don't know of any other ones that are particularly interesting. I mean, maybe the previous comment period for the first foray into the brace rule change back in 2020.
That was last year, 2020. Yeah.
And then maybe the bump stock rule change might be interesting to look at.
Yeah.
That was in 2018.
Yep. Yeah. That would definitely be interesting to look at. But yeah, data science.
Neither one of those
is
received
amazing.
any amount of comments in comparison to these last two dockets. The previous brace docket, they only published 7,000 comments, but the bump stock one they published almost 100,000 comments for that.
So John,
the previous comment period, it was 2 weeks, and it was only 7,000 comments because the ATF pulled it, and once the ATF pulled it, they stopped processing comments, even the ones they already had in the queue.
That's crazy. So in the past, has the ATF proposed new regulations? They had like an 8-to-1 comment opposing the regulation, and they're like, well, we're going to do it anyhow.
I haven't done any other comment analysis or sentiment analysis about any of the other documents or dockets. The only thing I've collected on the other dockets is just total number of comments.
They can do that.
They can't. You say
they can. I mean, it's only they only use the comments as
they're sticking their finger in the wind.
Yeah.
Bellwether.
Yeah, but they don't have if it's like 8-to, even if it's 8-to-1, they can just disregard.
Wow.
Everything.
So
and if you think they processed all those comments at the ATF within 2 weeks with 100 employees. So they read and filed
we
each
calculated
comment.
It'd have to be like 1 a minute if you take into account lunch, an hour lunch and stuff like that.
It was less than one. It was more than one.
Was it less than 1 minute?
I more than
forgot
1
what the
minute
math
because
was.
we calculated it for the whole entire month, and then once we figured it out, it was done in 2 weeks. It was 50 employees, which is and it's not like I mean, they are supposed to read each and every comment. So even if it's the same, they're supposed to read it and file it. And there's no way that happened. But hey.
So Rich at BWA says, is it better to submit one comment with multiple points or multiple comments with 1 point each? I'm assuming one comment with multiple points because you're not supposed to make multiple comments.
Well, you can do multiple comments. They have to be different.
Okay.
You can't submit the same comment over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know really, which is better, and I'm not even sure if it's going to make a big difference. I know it's probably not going to make a huge difference in the frames and receivers, and the pistol braces might be something that would change less. But I think that's going to come down to budgetary means from what I'm hearing, because they didn't get the money they thought they were going to get. I'm really liking the Crump Rich collaboration. Move over Ron Burgundy. Thank you, Walter P380. I appreciate that. Yeah. Have you ever thought about going to work for like a gun company or some type of like advocacy group doing data science?
No, and that's probably just because the opportunity hasn't presented itself.
Move to DC, it'll present itself. Pretty sure. There's data science I hear is like massive in DC. All these groups, all these lobbying groups and lobbying firms are doing all this data science stuff. When I went to the Youngkin campaign, when I met with the Youngkin campaign, they had a whole floor of a building of data scientists.
Really?
Yeah, just crunching numbers on different things.
Wow.
That's all they did. It was like, yep, this is data science. This is how we make our decisions. Gone are the days where they're like, oh, I think this is what the people do. They just look at the data. Yeah.
But I think a lot of that is designed to target what districts are most effective. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, well, they do a lot of polling, and then they run the data and figure out what messaging for what districts are needed, and then they run the data to see how much money is the optimal amount to spend in certain districts to get a certain turnout to make their targets. Because they have targets of, we need this amount of turnout, we need this amount of votes in each of these districts, and they have it broken down to like 32.5%.
And realistically, like presidential elections, it comes down to a couple of counties in a state that are really what they're targeting.
Yeah. And there's a lot of money in that, in politics and data science. Sorry if I'm putting ideas in your head, Wes. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
No,
I don't have much comment about politics. My mother always said, if you don't have something nice to say.
Yeah. If you had to pick a character from a movie that you look like, who would it be? What does the chat think? Thanks for answering this urgent question. That's from Dark, who I saw again today because he had more packages arrived at my house.
Who was that question for?
He was just being a smartass.
Because if it was for me, I couldn't tell you. I'm the person I spend the least time looking at.
You look like Dark, actually.
You could be a relative of Dark's.
You really could.
My people hail from North Carolina, I'm told.
Well, you're close to him then. He's in Long Island, Virginia. Long Island doesn't exist, really. But whatever. So, how'd you end up in California?
Born here.
Oh, I thought
born here, and I've lived here my whole life.
Okay, so your parents or someone moved to California before?
Yeah, via the Pacific Northwest. My dad moved down from Washington, and my mother's parents moved from in the Dust Bowl from Oklahoma and Texas. So, but I was born here.
Interesting. Being a pro gun guy in California, how is that? How do you deal with that?
Other than the statewide shenanigans that go on, I probably live in one of the better parts for the Second Amendment of California. I live in Central Valley area, so it's a lot more rural than. I mean, California is very diverse. There's the population centers, and then everything else is rural. So, and with the rural areas comes rural attitudes and a little bit more pro 2A sentiment, I would say, for sure. So, I mean, I've got a CCW, I carry every day, that sort of thing, but I have to deal with statewide things like the safety gun roster, the handgun safety roster, where I don't get access to the latest and greatest. I have, when it started, it was, gun companies would have to submit handguns for testing, and then they could sell their guns as approved, and then they just started adding more onerous requirements for them to pass that testing. The latest of which is micro stamping, where a gun has to put an identifiable mark on brass as it's ejected, and that technology doesn't exist. So that just means we don't have the latest pistols.
That's not so. That's like, oh, well, we need you to, dematerialize atoms. It's like, oh, but that technology doesn't exist. Oh, well.
Right. Yeah, well, you should invent it then, huh?
We do have a question for you. What's your unicorn gun? Your dream gun?
Ooh, a Court. I don't know how to say it. Court PRS. It's a roller delayed blowback 1911 style handgun. Those look really neat.
Yeah, that roller delayed blowback in any type of pistol is insane.
Oh, I didn't know there was a 1911 with that.
Yeah, it's incredibly expensive.
I wouldn't necessarily call it a 1911. I mean, it's just stylistically.
Right.
1911 light.
Right, a single action trigger, but as far as the operating mechanism, it's not a 1911 at all. Yeah,
they're incredibly expensive though.
Right, and I don't think they even import them regularly into the States.
No. I mean, you better have. I think the last time what if it like they go for like what do they go for like
5 or 6 grand is what I saw the last one auctioned for.
Yeah, I think the last one I saw was 6,000.
So Vanessa Kitty says her unicorn gun is a Vulcan mounted on her truck. I'm assuming she also wants it remotely controlled so she can drive and shoot simultaneously. Maybe, an optic in the helmet, a HUD system that she could just look down, shoot down.
Yeah.
So Vanessa Kitty, again, I'll say it. I do wish you were my neighbor.
Yeah. Korth. Have you ever seen the Korth the revolvers?
Yeah, I actually shot one last weekend.
Oh, did you get the one with like the funky the funky color shifting finish?
It's not mine, it was a friend's, and no, it wasn't anything funky, but it was a really nice revolver. And I'm not really that into revolvers, so that's saying something.
Yeah, they have a revolver that has this like funky like 8 different color thing depending on how the light hits it. It's really cool. Wow, like I found some Korth delayed blowback. Before last time I looked at it was a couple years ago, and they were like 6,000. They're going for like 15,000 now.
Ooh.
That would have been an
Ow.
awesome investment a couple of years ago if I would have
You
known
bought
that.
5 or 6 of them, yes. Wow.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, but I mean, it wouldn't be a gun I would carry because it's overly complicated for.
What do you mean German equipment being overly complicated? I don't understand.
I have a delayed roller back pistol. Yeah. But yeah, but who makes the delayed roller back AR?
Well, CMMG makes
CMMG
one.
makes a delayed radial.
Yeah, radial
I don't
delayed
think it's-
blowback. And who's the other company? They're at the Spring Iraq Veteran. They have a ball
Mean?
bearing delayed AR-15.
Mean.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting thing. I like weird mechanisms on guns in weird ways that guns act. I think BWE needs to make a delayed rollerback Glock for me.
So wait a second. I'm looking at the Korth right here. It's only 4,800, almost 4,900 euros, whatever the
Yes,
exchange
but
rate
you
for the
can't.
6-inch
But they
barrel.
don't import them into the United States only regularly.
We need to do the Turkish drinking game.
Yeah,
Nighthawk is the one that imports the revolvers into the U.S. So you
Yeah.
just need to tell
Yeah.
Nighthawk to get on it with the PRS.
yeah. The PRS it only imported every few years.
Wow.
So that's when it's probably when you see the price drop.
Huh.
You know, an open bolt Glock. Hell yeah.
Okay, so
Need to be in on that.
I'm looking at the Korth 6-inch. It just looks like they put a longer barrel and a compensator on it. So it looks like the frame is the same.
Yeah, I believe so. It thinks it's the same frame. It's just that they just add like a 1 or 2 screw compensator.
Mm-hmm.
Shoots 45. They offer 4, 5, and 6-inch for everyone out there looking at it. So yeah, it's the barrels are ported, I believe, as well. So yep. So they are very cool. But yeah, they can get real expensive. So Rich, you know what I want for my birthday?
Okay, and when's your birthday? Do you have one every year?
February.
It's not February 23rd?
It's not February 23rd, so you can buy me that for my birthday, and you can buy me a transferable Uzi Mini or Micro, either one. I'm not picky for Christmas.
I'll make sure Richard Hoffman's on it. I'll go and place the order directly myself.
Oh, okay, that works for me.
So Vanessa's saying she wants a belt-fed Glock. Then Dark says a full auto revolver. I'm assuming he means Glock.
No, I think he means full auto revolver.
Well, you always see the Glock revolver joke going. So, and Dark's birthday is January 1st, in case anybody's getting Dark a gift.
Yeah, you can use my house to ship packages too.
So, you're carrying. I'm guessing you're carrying some sort of Gen 3 Glock.
So when I say that you can't get current versions of pistols in California. That's a little bit of an oversimplification. There are ways to get current versions of guns. One of them is for new residents to bring them in and decide that they don't like them and sell them to current residents. The other way is for law enforcement who are exempt from the roster to purchase them and decide that they don't like them. So it's not illegal to do a private party transfer for an off-roster gun, but it's just not legal for dealers to sell new versions of guns that are not on the roster.
So, like, I couldn't, as a Floridian, drive there with, let's just say, one Gen 5 Glock 19.
If you intended to move here and become a resident of California, you could, but otherwise, no.
Gotcha.
Federally, you have to obey the laws of the state that you are selling the gun in, and California doesn't allow, or rather, it would have to go through an FFL, and federally, that means that they have to abide by the laws of the state that the transfer is happening in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's a question for me. If a gun gets brought in and it's off roster and someone decides to sell it, does it actually go for more money than what it's actually worth? Because
generally speaking, yeah, about 2 or 3 times what the MSRP is.
Dang.
So, and there's some other exceptions. I don't generally pay more than MSRP. I don't pay the off-roster tax. What they is what they colloquially call it here. But I've got what I normally carry every day is a P320.
Oh, nice. I have a P320, and if you want to build your own P320 out of an 80% kit, you can do that by going to JSD Supply. JSD Supply sells a bunch of P320 kits. The MUP one is insane. In fact, Shooting Gallery New England just made one.
Yeah, actually, I think he was shooting it today, so he's probably going to post a video soon on that.
Oh, there you go.
It's my carry piece and my competition gun as well. I've got
you shoot competition?
I shoot USPSA.
Oh, that's
cool.
Nice. But you can't have the 15-round mags.
At the moment, that's still up in the air. But up until now, we could, if you got them during Freedom Week, what they
Freedom
call it.
Week, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so we're not sure exactly what the latest ruling is going to be, or how swiftly the Department of Justice is going to move on this.
Which I was actually talking about that yesterday. I mean, how do you know somebody got a magazine during a week when you're allowed to?
That's really not the issue at the moment. The issue at the moment is California tried to make possession, no matter when you got it, illegal with Prop 63.
Wow.
And one of the arguments in the Duncan case was it violates the takings clause, right? And the Ninth Circuit found that no, it doesn't violate the takings clause because you can reduce the capacity permanently by pinning a mag, or you can sell it, or you can destroy it.
So just destruction doesn't violate the takings clause. I kind of disagree on that.
And conversion to something that it is not, conversion to a 10-round mag does not fundamentally alter the state of the magazine. It's not a completely different magazine anymore. Or if you pin it to 10 rounds, it's not completely different than it was. That's like saying that the government's going to confiscate 2 cylinders on my V8 and it's a V6 Mustang now instead of a V8 Mustang. How is that not taking? I have strong feelings about this.
I could tell. All right. Well, we've been on for an hour. I just wanted to have you on because I thought that the work that you did was incredible. So we're going to go around the room. Rich, tell them where they can find you.
Right here in my office. So YouTube.
And that was okay. I'm just joking. Every day.
So youtube.com/flyingrich, Instagram.com is flyingrich_official, and of course my website, flyingrich.com.
All right, Wes.
I have no website. I am just a guy.
Just a guy. Okay.
Just Wes.
Yep.
John Crump Live at John Crump News is where you can find me, of course. We will be back tomorrow with Tier 1 Kinetics. Really cool
Yes.
guy, and we'll be back at our normal time. And by the way, hey, Rich. Okay. Hey, Wes.
What's that?
He closes by saying,